Yep.
Don't like her. Okay. I think I'm pretty good.
All right.
Hold on one second. I got something in my pocket that I don't want to have in my pocket.
Okay. Clear the pocket.
I'm good.
Ready?
All right. Rock and roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another installment of Toffee TV USA. James and Ryan here as always. Today we are bringing you our way too early Everton squad analysis following the first four matches unbeaten of the campaign. Just a reminder, as part of the American Toffee podcast, we did do a gigantic 4-part squad assessment prior to the hiring of Rafa, where we looked hours and hours that goes very in depth to all of the current players in the squad, save some of the new faces. And so if you want to go back and check that out, you can find that on our podcast feed. Otherwise, if you haven't already, subscribe to Toffee TV, like this video, leave us a comment if you enjoy it. We're going to get right into things here. I think in the squad assessment, we kind of had 5 key points that we were looking at that would be key opportunities for a new manager to exploit or leverage in order to improve the current squad, or options they could take in the summer window to improve the squad. And we're going to look at the first few matches of the Everton season and some stats and analysis, as we so often do, that sort of support some of the things that we had decided, and look at what has Rafa done well, essentially. And then towards the end, we'll look at some of the remaining, let's call them opportunity areas for the manager.
That's so business positive of you. And the nice part about doing the assessment, it was a lot of work, but I felt like both of us gained a lot of knowledge in terms of what Rafa Benitez has done in the past. And while our 5 big things are solutions, maybe we didn't think he was the perfect person to implement all of them. Some of the things, we thought there were about 5 things that we decided to come up with independent. Some are the same, some are different, that we think his tactics could help, because we're seeing a very familiar tactical base from him. The 4-2-3-1 is his baby, defending in 4-4-2, and sometimes attacking in not really a 4-4-2, more like a 4-4-1-1. But we saw that in the past. So without further ado, kind of the 5 areas. The first area we thought was, initially we were hoping a new manager could come in and play a little bit more of maybe possession-based modern football. You know what I mean? Dominating the ball. And Rafa Benitez is not that type of person, which is fine if you're going to not dominate the ball. He likes to dominate the space, and that's okay. So look, my thought is, all right, he's not going to be a big possession guy, but that's okay, because his concept of possession, no, he won't be big on possession, but he wants to, have less possession in the defensive zone as well and move the ball very quickly up the field. He prefers long, direct passing rather than carrying the ball to move it more rapidly from back to front. And we were hoping that, since he brings a certain degree of attacking design to his counters, they're very well scripted typically, that will result in greater creation from open play. We hoped. Now, doing some basic analysis, I think our possession thought has rung true, because, look, our total possession is down, right? We're like 19th in possession at 37.3%, but that's not really as important as maybe, our degree of possession and where we're possessing the ball, is it not?
Absolutely. I think most Evertonians, it almost hasn't felt like the lack of possession. We haven't felt it so much watching the matches, because the possession that we have had has been, as you said, with that attacking intent, with trying to get the ball forward rapidly, and the numbers support that. So we're 19th in the league in total touches, just under 500 per match. Now you look at where those touches take place is the key part here. So in the defensive third, we're 13th in the league. In the middle third, second to last in the league again. In the attacking third, 11th in the league, almost 150 touches per match. And then in the penalty area, about 23 touches per match, which puts us at 10th. So towards the bottom of the league at defensive possession in around the back line, and then almost dead last in the middle, but really focusing on getting the ball in those dangerous areas into the attacking third and trying to have most of our possession there.
Yeah, you can see it too. And then, you can look at the passing stats versus dribbling too. We're 11th in progressive passes, and we're like 19th in total passes. You know what I mean? But actually we're second in the league. We did a little statistical calculation here. We're actually second in the league in progressive passes per pass attempt. And that's pretty impressive. So meaning, even though we're not getting a lot of passes and a lot of possession, when we do, it's going forward with some intent. It's progressing us up the field. Not surprisingly, since we're playing a lot more vertical, we're 19th in the league in switches in the field in terms of passes. That's not surprising, right? We're watching it. We are going direct. We're going vertical, not as much horizontal. So that shouldn't be a surprise. And again, what else do we see? Fewer carries. I mean, our progressive carry distance, 18th in the league. And I think that's okay. Rafa Benitez does not want to do that. He wants to dominate certain areas of space. And when it gets there, win it back. It's trapping, basically allowing the team, trapping them, bang, sending it up the field as quickly as possible. And the ball moves faster, without the people. Very, very
right.
I think the only negative here that we see statistically is we're probably dribbling a little too much. We'll get to that in a second. But I think all of this has helped result into what was our last point. Hopefully more open play creation. And we're seeing that for sure.
Absolutely. Definitely seeing an improved creation. We'll look at point number 2 here, which was, in our squad assessment, we thought a new right wing, a new right back. Now, obviously we did get Gray and Andros Townsend in to support wide play. We didn't get the right back. Much has been made about that, but we do have now some more options on the wing that can mix and match, as Rafa likes to do with his wingers. They can switch sides. They can cut inside or stay wide. And we're really not seeing so much of a focus on crossing and dribbling the ball, but focus creating shots and getting up and down the pitch very quickly.
Yeah, and we're using the fullbacks a little differently too. So, the wide play is different. And look, we didn't spend a lot of money, but I think we actually did a fairly cost-effective job in bringing some players in that fit maybe a little bit better in the Rafa Benitez scheme. And you can't argue with the results. We talked about creation from open play, and we're the 4th highest non-penalty expected goals per 90 at 1.53. That's massive, right? But how are we doing it? So the fullbacks are very involved. The 2 highest touches on the team per 90, Dean and Coleman. Look, we're not crossing that much. That's true. We didn't think he would cross that much anyway, even with Calvert-Lewin or someone like Townsend in, who's great at crossing the ball. And as a result, we've only had 29 crosses. That's 14th in the league. But the crosses have been a lot more effective for sure. We're 4th most accurate in crossing percentage, according to Y Scouts. And I think probably the biggest individual impact is Luca Dean, because he's way down in crossing volume, but his crosses have still been very effective.
Yeah, look, Luca Dean, in his time at Everton, has averaged over 4 crosses per 90 since he's been here for 3 full seasons. Now he's at less than 2, basically barely over 1.
I know.
Per 90. So
that's
crossing
massive.
Way less. Huge drop. And we remember how often Luca Dean we rely on his crosses as one of our sole sources of creating opportunities. But now his crossing percentage went from 33% to 50% this year. So he's connecting on half of his crosses, even though he's not taking nearly as many.
Yeah, it's a small sample size, but I those are notable differences, and you can see it in the way he plays. He's not just bang and pray and hope from distance, and his creation is way up. Shots per created, shots created action. That includes not just kind of, key passes, shot assists, but also like the hockey assist, the second assist type thing. It's over 3. It's 3.33 per 90. And from open play, this isn't coming from set pieces. It's almost a full shot per 90 more from last year. And it's the highest it's been at Everton. He has 8 shot created actions from live passes alone. I think the other individual that it's really benefited is Demarai Gray, because we talked about the reason why he was only, 1.7 million pounds in terms of a fee. And yes, I know that was a release clause, but why would that be so low? In the past, he's been somewhat maligned for being a bit of a ball hog, dwelling on the ball and stuff. And historically, his crossing has not been very effective.
Yeah, his crossing in his career thus far until arriving at Everton, 27.2% accuracy rate. And that's with almost 3.5 crosses per 90 across all of the leagues he's played in Bundesliga, Premier League.
But he strikes the ball so well. It's almost hard to believe, right?
Right. It's unbelievable. And then you look this year, he goes from 3.4 to 2.58. But again, similar to Luca Dean, the completion percentage skyrockets, 27.2%, 62.5% this season. Again, very early, but strong indication that Rafa wants guys banging crosses into dangerous areas, into the 6, and most importantly, knowing where players are going to be and knowing that he can find them with those crosses.
Yeah, I think Benitez is doing such a good job with Demarai Gray. When we watched him at Leverkusen, we talked about this on the pod too, and we said, look, he's the reason why he's not a great crosser of the ball is not because he can't deliver a cross. It's because, his vision isn't that great. Sometimes he's got his head down too much. He's dwelling on the ball, so the opportunity is lost. He's sporadic. There was no pattern where he puts it. But look, you see him on set pieces, and when he has to shoot a ball, he strikes the ball so cleanly, and he's good with his left foot too. So to me, it seems very obvious. If you go back and look at every one of his crosses this year, and again, small sample size, everyone is where? It's all the same place. Don't we think that's Rafa Benitez very clearly saying, hey, look, let's simplify things for you. Let's get you to play more direct. And that he's got to just demand from him. That's part of the scheme. We're seeing that. He's giving a lot of freedom to do that. But where is every cross going?
Straight to the 6.
Right to the 6.
Banging
everyone is just boom. Don't get me wrong. It helps that he's totally on fire and shooting the ball. I think he's 4th in the Premier League in non-penalty goals versus expected goal difference. Again, he's banged in 2 goals with his left foot. He's very right-footed at times. So, that's a good example of the wide play is different. Maybe we wanted it in a different way and we didn't buy the right back, but we're getting the most out of what we've got using them intelligently. So I think the third point here is one that I think Raphael is showing that we wanted any new manager to come in. And I think he's doing a very good job with this one. And that's that interplay between the 2 defensive mids or central mids in the 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2. We knew that he traditionally, and we go through all the combinations in the team assessment that he's ever had, typically he's got one that sits back a little bit more and the other one's a little more aggressive. Some of them are more passers like a Xabi Alonso, but most of them, are energy guys with athleticism. What we saw a lot last year was some issues with shape as well, too. Not only were they not involved in the attack, because what did we say in the team assessment? We need to get more out of Decore and Alon, right? But we also saw some shape issues where whether it was the center halves being too scared to go up, there's too much space behind them in the, those lines are too open. But I would say, we thought Alon might struggle a little bit and Decore would probably thrive. I think Alon's adapting very quickly, and I don't think the shape's been great, but against Brighton, the shape was wonderful. And I think that was really encouraging. And I think this is where Benitez is making a big difference. So if we go through them one by one, we thought Alon might be an adjustment, right? He likes to carry the ball. He knows he has to move it quickly. I think it just shows what an intelligent player he is by starting to adapt, but his creation numbers are way up too. And that is a good news story, I think.
Yeah, because he was one of the best possession-based midfielders in all of Europe, and perhaps the world in his time in Napoli, and obviously brought in under Carlo, kind of thinking he would continue to play in that mold.
Yeah,
not going to happen under Rafa, so he has to make he has to adapt if he wants to play, and obviously he's very skilled. So he can create, he can drive the ball forward, but we didn't see that at all from him really under Carlo. Now this season so far, he's had 2 goal-created actions already, and his matches is total from all of last year. And I remember in the first match, he had a shot on target within the first 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
And he had 2 all last season.
Right.
So it just shows the difference.
Yeah. Look at his touches are up, 10 touches in the final third per 90 so far, up from, he was under 7. Decore is no surprise though. Actually, what's probably surprising is that he's not getting a lot of tackles and interceptions, but everything else is way up. He's, he wants to get up the field. He played in Watford in a Silva attack, and he just seemed natural, and he seemed somewhat neutered last year. You wanted to see him do more. So he's got fewer touches overall, but he's got more in the attacking third, 15 to, under 13. But some of the things are shocking. He's got 16 progressive passes. He's 15th in the whole league. That's over 5 per 90. Last year he only had 65 the whole year, was averaging 2.4. That's twice as much. And that is the lowest in his career. He had 9 progressive passes in the Leeds match. What an animal. He didn't have more than 5 in any match last year. And the thing that's shocking is that his passing accuracy is still so good. So as a team, we've made the second most amount of passes under pressure of anyone else in the Premier League. And that's partially due to our opponents, right? Southampton, Brighton, Leeds, they pressure, right? Decore has made 39 passes under pressure. He's second in the league at doing that. Yet he's still almost at 85% from a completion rate. And look at his shots created actions. They're over 3. He's never been close to that in his career. He is getting into the attack. 3 shots on target. How many did he have all of last year?
5. So he's already, so you're looking at guys that are almost equaling their offensive output after 3 games that they had all of last year, which is crazy. And then you look at his defensive numbers. Like you said, he's not getting as many tackles and interceptions, but the recoveries are way up. So he's kind of just cleaning up the junk. He's got 14.3 recoveries per 90, which is his best since 17-18. Interceptions and tackles are down. So not being quite as aggressive going to win the ball, but he's really cleaning up all the messes, winning loose balls, knowing where to be and anticipating when guys are going to disrupt play so that he can be there to pick up the scraps.
And progressing it up the field, and that's what he needs. And we're seeing that. So the fourth point was pressure. We were hoping maybe of a more modern high pressure system. We're not seeing the high pressure. And maybe it's the opponents a little bit here. I don't think our number is going to be this high all year. But look, once opponents get to a point, we're going to control that space. It's an active low block. It's at times. Now, it's been higher than that this year so far, but this isn't Carlo Ancelotti parking the bus. There is some activity. Once they get to a point in a space, we own that space and we go after him. And our pressure numbers, I think, are indicative of that. I mean, our pressures total were 6th in the league, but where the pressures are happening are not really a surprise, even though I think that total is going to go down because we didn't anticipate the press high a lot. And I think the numbers indicate that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of what we see where our touches are coming in possession. Yeah. We're 7th in the league in pressures in our own defensive third, drops a little bit to 9th in the league when you talk about the middle third. And then in the attacking third, we drop down to 11th.
Yeah. And it's probably not going to be that high all year, and then you see things tackle, same thing, mostly in the defensive third. I think he'd like us to see us tackle a little bit better. And we've got more times dribble pass than anyone else in the league, but we also have the most tackle attempts, but it's all, kind of in the defensive third. But look, that's okay. He'd like that percentage to be higher, but that'll come as you get familiar. And once you get familiar with the tactic, you can be more aggressive with it. You know what I mean? So, I think, we talked about a couple people too. Our fifth point, which is the most important one. Last year, we wanted to just say, play the attacking players, or just use the existing personnel better is probably the more universal thought process behind it. So look, Decore, much better. Alon, much better. Gray simplified his game. He looks just absolutely amazing right now. One guy we have not talked about, which is probably a shock to everyone that we haven't even mentioned his name so far yet. And we're 15 minutes in, is Alex Iwobi. Now look, I think we knew this was coming a little bit. Let's be honest.
We've talked enough about Alex Iwobi and what he's capable of. And frankly, we've championed the potential that he has on the show a lot last season. And I think what we've seen thus far in this campaign is that you use a guy where he's most effective, you're going to see results from that.
Yeah, right. I would argue, actually, he still played a little too defensively against Leeds. But that's okay. But that's kind of been our right side so far this year. You know what I mean? Coleman's putting up amazing defensive numbers. He's had help from Townsend, and Iwobi did a good job in that match. But look, the key to his game is what we've always said is touches in the penalty area. When he gets the ball, and he can carry it into there too. He doesn't have to do that. Doesn't have to receive a pass in there. He's not limited in that way. When he gets in there, he creates havoc. At Arsenal, he averaged almost 6 per 90. In Everton, both prior years, under 3. Like, that's half as many. That's just utilizing a guy in a strange way. This year, he's back around 6. He's over 6. And look, at Arsenal, he put up massive shot created in creation numbers, open, assist, shot created actions. We mentioned he was almost 4 his last 2 years per 90. I mean, that's like top of the league. This year, he's over 5. Now, it's small sample. It's lower minutes. Maybe we should play him some more, especially in the middle. But that number is 5th in the Premier League, and he's 3rd from open play in terms of shot created actions. Again, same thing with goal created actions. He's already got 2 in the Premier League. He had 5 last year and the 2 year before. And we haven't even talked about his cup performance. And guess what? He's also still taking the balls. Pass accuracy is like 3rd on the team at, over 85%. So, and his progression is still up. So look, the bottom line is, we're getting more out of Iwobi, I think, because we're using him to his benefit. One person we haven't really even talked about too much is Pickford. I think he's probably a little energized playing with Rafa. I mean, he feels like he's more engaged. He can release the ball quickly. He's playing great. Is his post-shot expected goal differential versus goals against is 8th. Again, small sample size. 70% save percentage is 8th. So for right now, I feel good about that. You never know when he's going to have a lull, and it looks like he's taking things seriously. So that's a lot of positives. Do we see any issues here, though, or some signs of concern, or things that maybe just haven't caught up to what Raphael wants to do yet?
Yeah, I think we're still sort of searching for that attacking combination that Rafa likes so much and has had success with in the past. And that is, of course, playing with a big number 9, a big target striker, and then someone behind him, usually not a second striker, though you could call it that, a more creative player who is more versatile, perhaps. And it seems like he thus far has wanted to use Richarlison in that role, but I think, Ryan, you have, and I also have some questions about how well he seems to be suited for that role and if it makes sense to really place him there.
Yeah, I think he's a poor fit for it, just from in terms of what his skills are and what he excels in. He tends to dwell on the ball a little much. He's one of our best players, but I want him in a space where he can take a little time, beat someone off the dribble, and create his own shot. He's not able to do that. I mean, that player needs to. There is no player in a Rafael Benitez setup that can dwell on the ball. He has to move it quickly. And I think that's hard in the middle of the field. I mean, that is a really important player in his scheme, whether it's, Aymar at Valencia with a bigger player like Mista, a center forward. And we saw it initially at Liverpool too, with Luis Garcia, where he took a converted right wing and made him into more of this kind of dynamic vertical playmaker, though, even though a lot of goals too, with teaming up with like Milan Baros. That's a good example. Eventually Gerrard played in there with Torres, but like all these guys moving the ball quickly, there's no slow down. Like Juan Mata scored like 11 goals for Chelsea in his first year with Rafael Benitez. I think 9 in the league. I mean, he's not a swift player. He's not a big physical guy like Richarlison, but he's thoughtful. He's smart. He has vision. He can move the ball quickly and find the guy. Wesley Sneijder at Inter, and God knows what that team would have been like if Milito was healthier. Eto'o hadn't headbutted that guy.
Right.
But those are the combinations, at Madrid. People keep bringing up Gareth Bale as like, well, he's kind of like Gareth Bale. No, when Gareth Bale played that position, which was really odd, he played Gareth Bale in that position and James right.
Right.
That was strange, I think, and Isco some left, and it was a bad combination, I thought, at times, but Bale was like a one-touch player then. He was not dwelling on the ball, and that's what we don't see from Richarlison. I don't think he has tremendous vision as a player, not bad vision. His first touch is a little sloppy, but not out of expediency. It's because he's physical and he can hold people off. I don't think that's a demand in that role, and I think he's slowing down our counter. You know what I mean? And like Newcastle's last one, Iosi Perez kind of roamed around and got rid of the ball quickly. So like, I just don't see that combination when I look at all those comps. You know what I mean? I just don't see anyone over there that says, oh yeah, that's Richarlison. So maybe he could adapt. But right now, I mean, people are saying, what are you talking about? His creation numbers are up. His creation numbers are up a little bit, but the turnovers, I mean, he is giving the ball away more than anyone else in the league. And I mean, I think it is very obvious to watch that it's a problem. I don't know how you feel. The numbers are pretty damning for sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that he's struggled. He's hasn't been as effective.
It's
one
a new
of our
role.
Best players.
It's a new role, though. I mean, a lot of people think, well, no, he's been a second center forward, but this is different, right? I mean, I'm trying to emphasize, right. This is not just throw 2 center forwards up like Carlo would do. This is a very distinct role working off a target guy that he's not done a whole lot of in his career, really.
Right. And you want Richarlison, I think we do, particularly, as you said, wide, being able to run at guys. When he's in that central position, he tends to, it affects his decision-making. He's a little too slow. And you look at, he's just trying to do a little bit too much himself, particularly dribbling. He's 8th in the league in dribbles per 90, but under 40% or a little under 50% in success rate, which Rafa's not going to really like, especially when that's such a key focal position for moving the ball quickly and
he's actually
instigating attack.
He's actually 38.5%. I mean, he is way down. Oof. You know what I mean? Like 5th in the league in dribble. It's only 13, but like, and none of those guys that have dribbled that much is really, no one on the team is even more than 7 too. So we're not dribbling anymore, especially not in that role. So I think what you said is right. I like him wide too. If he's going to be in the middle as his goal scorer, that's fine. But you saw what happened in Brighton when Dom went down. I thought we functioned very well with him as a center forward, and that may be his best position. But I don't like it. Doesn't. So look, 2 stats that FB Ref keeps track of is miscontrols and dispossessions. Miscontrol is a bad touch. I mean, he's got 12. He's 4th in the Premier League. Dom has 10, but you expect that from him. He's a target guy. Yeah. He's been dispossessed 12 times too. That's 2nd. No one else on the team has more than 6. And look, I mean, you take those, that's 4 per 90 on both sides, 8 in total. It's the worst in the league. So if you add miscontrols to dispossession, just call it turnovers to use an American term. He's worse than the league. That's a league that has Wilfred Zaha in it.
Yeah.
So, but to me, like that's twice as worse, much worse than he was last year, where he was at under 2 on one and just over 2 on the other. I mean, he's 200% up. That is not good. He needs to move the ball. He needs to expedite. It's just, to me, it's not working. It's slowing us down. It'll be interesting to see when and how Rafa may make a decision. Maybe we're catering too much to him. He really wants to play central. But there's no reason he couldn't play the gray role as well with the freedom he has and get inside when it matters. And someone else can play that position and get him the ball in dangerous places. I think that's what we'd like to see. I can think of a player or two that could play that position despite not being used at Real Madrid that way. No, I'm not talking to Alex Iwobi. Although I think Alex Iwobi is very better suited for that position, frankly, than Richarlison. And I think Richarlison would benefit getting the ball from those types of guys. Maybe that hurts Gray. Maybe you move Gray to the right, whatever. But I'm talking about, obviously, about James Rodriguez. And, well, he's back. Still a lot of narratives around this. And we kind of knew some of this drama would happen the second we hired Rafa Benitez, did we not?
Yeah, it seemed inevitable. Look, it was questionable. It was questionable from at least after Rafa was hired. Questionable how committed James would be to Everton following the departure of Carlo Ancelotti. I think it was pretty much accepted that was the reason that he came here in the first place.
Sure.
Not to say that he didn't have any interest in sticking around. Had we brought in a manager with some different ideas who wanted to use James as a focal point of the team, he could have been persuaded. Now it seems everyone's hand's been forced in the situation. James is not going to get a move away. People were saying, he wants to move away. He's talking about leaving on Twitch all the time. And
has he ever said anything? Are we overblowing some of these Twitch comments? Did he ever say on Twitch that he wanted to leave Everton? I don't think he ever said that. Once. No, never once. So he said, I don't know what's going on with my future. Things change in football. Of course.
Things you would expect someone in his position to probably say.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has a big audience. He has people. He's going to talk to, and he's got, his Instagram followers is like 55 million. I mean, it's going to happen. And look, he's smart. He knows what he's saying. He's not going to, even if he felt that way, he wouldn't say it. But the evidence that people keep pointing to that he wants away. And look, I don't think he's passionate about Everton, but I also don't think he's like, I hate it here. I think he's just kind of, it's where he is and he's okay with it. That's the vibe I get from him. But everyone points to, well, his agent Mendes was, pushing him around and offering around to other clubs. Well, the guy who brought him there was leaving. Like, is that an unnatural thing? And do we not know who Jorge Mendes is? I mean, does that any evidence to you? Is that evidence to you that he suddenly just wants out? Or is this just an agent being an agent, especially him?
If agents shopping players around to other clubs means the players want out, then probably like 90% of the squad
they're all out,
wants out of Everton, because that's just what agents do. They want to get themselves another payday. They do that by securing moves to other teams. And so I think the reaction and the negative sort of attitude that's been curated against James is probably a little overblown. I still think he's arguably our best and most talented technical player, and seems perfect, almost a perfect fit or a really good fit for that kind of second striker, a creative player. Look, he may not have the same type of attributes that Rafa typically looks for, but there's no question the guy can create shots. And if you get him in that central area where he typically thrives with that pace and with those guys around him, I think good things could probably come from it. It's just a question of, can these two make amends? Can these two get over this? And what does James really want to, does he want to get back in the Colombian squad with the World Cup approaching? Like all these sorts of outside factors, but it seems like it makes perfect sense to slot James in at that number 10 position.
I think it's the most natural position for him to play, regardless of how Rafa used him at Real Madrid. I mean, this isn't Real Madrid. We don't have that kind of depth.
What?
I mean, Benzema or Ronaldo up top today, it's kind of a different level.
Or Solomon Rondon.
We called it. No, I think, look, I think likely what happened was that, Mendes shopped him around because that's what he does. And I think when Benitez was announced, I'm sure James is like, we don't get along. And I think that's obvious. It was a very public spat at Madrid. And so I understand some willingness to look at offers. But look, where do we think this narrative comes from that he can't play that kind of second striker attacking central midfield thing? I mean, number one, he doesn't work on defense. Well, Okay. I mean, maybe he's not killing himself sometimes, but I don't think the defensive responsibilities in that role are that brutal. I mean, he's smart enough clearly to prevent passes from going into a 6. He's not running around pressing like a maniac here. You know what I mean? Will he be as good defensively as Richarlison? No, but if you move Richarlison into a wide space, Richarlison, I don't think has a single tackle this year. You know what I mean? Like, he's really valuable as a defensive player in the wide spaces. And certainly if you're going to put James in the middle and move Richarlison, say, over right or left and kick Andros Townsend out of the starting lineup, that is a massive upgrade. No offense to Andros Townsend. And you could say, well, we lack athleticism with James. This just in. Townsend ain't that quick either. So I don't know. I mean, I personally think that he would fit best in that role and would be effective. Maybe he's only there for 60 minutes. And Iwobi can come in and spell him. And we've seen how good Alex is at running around with the ball like a maniac against tired legs. So I just think you've got him. You got to use him. I think that's the role he naturally has to play. I even think Richarlison may even be better if Dom's hurt and spelling him instead of Rondon. I think there are a lot of combinations we have there. But anyway, I think overall, though, I think, with the exception of Richarlison a little struggling with the new role and Dom maybe not finishing that great. I mean, honestly, I think things are massively improved. I mean, I think the team, again, it's 3 games, and the opponents were not, they aren't top 6 clubs, but I think things are improved. I see more intent from Rafa Benitez, and I think some players are getting a result, a bump. And I think we're seeing a better unit already, and certainly a more actively managed team. And I think we're benefiting as a result.
I think the actively managed thing is so key. And though a lot's been made, I think Carlo's time at Everton has been kind of distilled down to like the offhand just play comment that was allegedly made.
More spirit.
Obviously, there was more done off the pitch than that. But I do think it's clear that Rafa having a very rigid system does benefit certain guys in the squad who do need that sort of specific instruction. And we're seeing some members of the squad reap the benefits. And I think given enough time and given enough diversity of opponents, for example, obviously the Burnley match will be a very interesting change of pace for the squad, because the 3 teams we've played are sort of mid-table contenders who all play a very similar style. Be interesting to see what Rafa has up his sleeve for some of these different tactical approaches within the Premier League and elsewhere.
Yeah, he's creating some freedom for the people that need it, and it's rigid in every other way, and we're seeing some of the benefits of that. I'm really, the center mid play in particular, I think in Brighton really made me feel good. That was a very well played game. We were terrific. But on to, very different test coming up on Monday. But either way, I think both of us say thumbs up so far. I think Rafael Benitez is doing a good job. He has, whether it's his fault of his own, overcome the biggest challenge we thought, which was keeping his talented players here. Would have been nice to get a right back, but we'll see how it plays out. But I think after 3 games, it's safe to say there's some good trends here. I think we're seeing the Benitez that we thought we would with a tweak or 2. And hopefully you as an audience, if this helped at least understand what we're seeing, maybe you agree. Feedback, we always welcome it. And we always appreciate the opportunity to come in here and talk shop on Toffee TV.
100%. Yes. Thank you everyone for listening. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you agreed, if you disagreed, leave us a comment below. We'd love to read them. Otherwise, thank you again so much. If you want to find all of our content on the American Toffee podcast, you can find all of our links to social media, all of the podcast platforms at linktr.ee/USA Toffee pod. That's linktr.ee/USA Toffee pod. Give us a subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Hope you check us out. We appreciate everyone listening. And as Ryan said, always grateful and honored to be a part of Toffee TV. This concludes this episode of Toffee TV USA. Thanks to everyone again. And until next time, up the Toffees. Cut.